All right, this is the last segment of the night. It is in regards to Hbar and also the whole thing of Bank Social. Now, last week we covered the whole thing of Bank Social, and the token sniffer score didn't look good, but it's still doing really, really well on the 7-day chart, 30-day chart, daily charts. So let's get into some new things about Bank Social. All right, pulling it up in the process, here was some news that was dropped from Bank Social, BSL. This is exciting news. We secured a strategic investment from the Hashgraph. We know that, to accelerate our mission of bringing open banking to the web. Now, there's a lot more to this that wasn't explained last time around. So I'm going to point out some of these key highlights for you before we wrap up the show tonight. So for one, they have this press release, and it talks about this right here, which is Bank Social launching open banking platform for credit unions with the investment. Interesting, right? And when you get into this, it's a little bit more that reiteration. So it comes from something that kind of looks like a Medium article. I think this is kind of a partial Medium. So I'll blow it up just a tad bit more. And basically speaking, bringing credit unions new capabilities, deposits, and revenues. Now, I was talking to Mike Cornwell earlier today, and he feels as though that, Bank Social should be looked upon as kind of like an institutional swap. They come in, they pump, the BSL, if you will, and from there, then you see a drop because they inject the tokens. Now, sounds kind of bad, but it's also good at the same time because, for one, on the 7-day chart, 30-day chart, it looks very healthy. And it instills confidence, especially for something that's like with Hedera, right? But is this something that's really unique compared to other particular platforms? And is this really a true example of, a token that is an institutional swap? Like we talking about this in regards to Quant, but is this truly a great example? And I just want to get more into this for a second. So I have highlighted some of these things about John Wingate and so on. And I'm not going to just, get into only that. But this whole thing of credit union industry support for Bank Social, this is big because we're always following the whole thing of institutional money. Last year, total assets of domestic credit unions grew roughly 2.7 trillion US dollars among approximately 135.3 million members. The number of credit unions in the United States consolidated between 2013 and 2022. At the end of 2022, there were 4,760 federally insured credit unions. And in the United States, a significant drop compared to 2021. Leaders are now arguing the cost-effective new features can support smaller credit unions and reverse this trend. So how does Bank Social come into the whole thing? Well, the answer basically is that you have these strategic alliances that support, for instance, what Bank Social is doing. And every single time I research this more, I come to the realization that, it's one thing for us to talk about all these institutional swaps, but do we actually have one that is utility in motion? I think the answer is yes. And the reason why I say the answer is yes, because for one, you see this happening, and you see this happening with Hedera. And that's huge. This could be very well a very, underrated project built, or I should say, in alliance with Hedera. But the platform itself, in regards to Bank Social, helps credit unions diversify into non-traditional banking services. Isn't that the whole point of mass adoption of everything we're talking about? Yeah. It ensures they remain relevant to future generations and consumers while growing deposits and, of course, revenue. We are excited to help bring these capabilities to the market. Now, let's jump down to this part down here. Bank Social launched Rivia. It's a payments network and other products on the Hedera network. So, this whole notion of people saying, well, Bank Social's technically not, 100% Hedera. They went with another contract, yada, yada. Think about it, guys. They bring products to Hedera. They're part of the ecosystem, if you understand how ecosystems work. And look at this quote. We believe Bank Social is bringing together the right mix of DLT. So there's that. But again, credit unions. If we put a lot of focus on quant to some of these other ones, what they're doing with the central banks, the tokenization of CBDCs, what about the tokenization of credit unions? That's a big freaking sector. And I think more people are paying attention to Bank Social. You're starting to see its market cap is literally exploding before our very eyes. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? You guys always said, Max, don't just cover Hedera and Hbar, but cover things that are part of the ecosystem. I don't want to see you cover Caspa. Nothing against Caspa. There's plenty of content creators who cover Caspa. Keep doing you, man. Cover Casper and the ecosystem they're doing. Cover Hedera and the ecosystem they're doing. Zenfin, XDC, the ecosystem and what they're doing and so on. Okay, I get it. So let's give you some more examples of this, right? Let's pay more attention to Bank Social. Open banking, empower an open, inclusive financial ecosystem for the future. This is from Mance Harmon. You guys know every time, he's with, Dr. Lehman Baird, they get together, have coffee, and talk till the wee hours of the night after, Starbucks closes and so on. But do you think they might be talking about this? Could very well be, because this is unique. So look what it says. Mance Harmon, right? Also CEO of Swirls Lab, provides development and support for, of course, Hedera. Talks about, for instance, that, like you said in that quote, right? Bringing together the right mix. New generation credit union and member benefits. Rollout of Bank Social platform strategically aligned and scheduled, I should say, with the evolution of credit unions. Next phase, focusing on core identity, payment solutions, slated for Q1 of 2024. So even with these crazy pumps that we're getting, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg for this. And for me, I'm waiting for a pullback. I'm just going to be honest. I say to myself, I'm not going to buy no more crypto into different projects and so on. DCA more. I'm trying to focus more on what I have compared to just getting into everything. That's just me. But I think this might be the exception of one that I also finally got to get into, because I see the potential with this. So yeah, Q1 2024 features rolling out in phases to ensure seamless integration and adoption. Adoption of what? Right? Not just rah DLT, but the adoption of what they're doing with credit unions. I mean, just be honest, on the surface, there's not a lot of projects that are putting a lot of focus on this. That's cool that we're seeing this. There's a little bit more info about this. Again, this is not like a deep dive. It's just showing you some new info. So Bank Social, we love to see Hedera's continuing dedication to enhance trust and transparency through the launch, of course, of smart contract verification. I mean, I'm looking at it from this perspective. If I'm going to talk about Stellar all day long when it comes to Sorbonne, should we treat Bank Social with Hedera, but not necessarily quite like Sorbonne, but I think we should treat it similar to where it's like this, allows the ecosystem of credit unions, and that in itself it's just that's a lot of money that could come into this space, So it says this is why we chose to build on Hedera, and I want to get into this. This is 11 hours ago. It was published earlier today, and I want to share this with you because, again, this is stuff I don't think most people are aware of. But it's definitely cool when we get into it. Again, not super long deep dive, but excited to see the availability of smart contract verification on Hedera, bringing increased trust, transparency through the enablement, of smart contract evaluation, ensuring alignment between deployed bytecode and source files. This is, again, the whole thing of Bank Social stating why they decided to go with Hedera. There's numerous reasons how to verify smart contracts. You have the whole thing of, bolstering security, driving community collaboration. Again, if you're going to do, a lot of transactions with the credit unions, you do have to have bolstered security. And that's just to put it lightly. Look at this for a second. We believe this critical step for developers, enterprises, Web3 solutions providers, and end users, facilitating Hedera transactions to be secure and transparent. So for one, you know, this is something that's a big deal in regards to Hedera. And if anything, this helps Hedera because it stands out as, one that's a key component of their ecosystem. But if you are a person that holds BSL, as in, Bank Social, I think you also recognize that maybe you should have both, like Hedera and also some Bank Social. Getting into just a tad bit more before we show you guys what's going on with the chart, I want to share this as well. So you have, this was, again, I posted this morning. Congratulations to the proposed DeFi credit union. We can't wait to power the future of finance with you. I mean, come on. I know it got a low token sniffer score, but geez, they're continuing to impress. So it says proposed DeFi federal credit union. So many of these people are like kind of gung-ho about some of this. They're like, sounds really good. Big things happening in DeFi. So pumped. But I mean, I get credit where credit's due. Every single turn of the page or drop of the hat, whatever you want to call it, you see big things about Bank Social and when it comes to the connection with Hedera. And before I get to the chart, here's the one that tagged Hedera or Bank Social, both I should say. This is Defy Coup or Coop, proposed DeFi federal credit union. The first, listen to this, guys, self-custody. So when we talk about your Larry Finks of the world and so on about what they're looking to do with self-custody, you have this example: self-directed financial institution built for the Web3 community worldwide. And they're tagging Bank Social. Now, keep in mind, I don't know how long they've been around. There's so many examples where even when we do the quant coverage that you'll see these big institutions, they don't even have a big following, right? Could this be another example of that? I think it could be. So, yeah, they tag them and so on. Glad to see some guys from the JASMY community maybe following us, or maybe that's just a recommendation. Yeah, anyway, that's just a recommendation. But that's interesting. And here's their site. All right, let me take you to this for a second. This is kind of loading up and so on. So, again, this is not like a retail site. This is how you actually just become like a charter member for approval. So again, why would this particular company, who's referred to as DeFi Coop, proposed DeFi federal credit union, self-custody, self-directed financial institution, again, financial institution, we even go through this trouble? I think it's something to be said. Now, just to give you guys an update, Bank Social, we introduced it last week. Unverified market cap of 5.1 million, only done about 10,000 of volume. Maybe because not enough people know about it. A ranking of 4411. You see it sitting at 0.30345, absolute buy. And on the 24-hour chart, you see it up 28%. 7-day chart, my God, 262%. Sounds crazy. Here's a little bit more about it. Let's jump into this. And look at that. For the day, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty darn good. 7-day chart. Not too shabby. And then again, max supply. Total supply says 10 trillion. Max supply 20 billion. That they need to fix that on CMC. Maybe on CoinGecko, we get an accurate depiction of that and so on. But if you're wondering what the fully diluted is, even though there's not a verification of that market cap, you do have fully diluted at 7 million. So there is that. And then let me go further down. All right. All-time lows was a year ago. It was at 0.040, 54.66. It's been an increase of 532% since then. And then all-time highs, of course, were the last bull market. And this is worth paying attention to. All right. Why highlight this for a second? So I think it's worth highlighting. All right. So you got to keep in mind on 11/11/2021, BTC and in Ethereum are all-time highs, but especially BTC, 69K BTC. This again was right around that particular time, so you saw this at this particular level. Should we get to new all-time highs with this? I think it's very well possible. And if that's the case, it might be higher than 0.005. What if this was to go to a penny? I'm just saying, I'm not trying to create too much hopium, but they could very well do this. All these posts from Hedera, I mean, they're proud of this, particular project. And then all these things going on with the institutions, especially credit unions. It makes you sit back and wonder, like, even if it got to a penny, this means that this thing erases 2 zeros. And last I checked, it's a big deal to erase 1 0, but what about 2? And not only that, low market cap. So you guys are always looking for low market cap gems. This very well could be it. Again, in the other video, there's a few places you can get it. Only 2, Pancake Swap and Buybox. I never heard of Buybox. So, I would probably go with Pancake Swap. You guys know the drill. Basically speaking, you need to make sure that you get some BNB, and then probably swap it to Binance Smart Chain and so on, and then get it on, for instance, Trust Wallet, and go about that way and so on. And then from there, I don't know if it's a case where you can get it on a ledger and so on. Probably not. You guys got to keep that in mind, but there might be. So ledger or Decent Wallet and stuff like that. But I don't really think there's probably support for something like this. Is that too much of a risk? Again, not financial advice, but you can get more into it if you choose to do so.